what would you say was the thing you liked doing the most?
Winning. Yeah, I liked winning the most.
Hi, besties. This is Richer Lives, the show that teaches you how to use your money to live your best life. And I'm Vivian Tu, aka your Rich BFF. I'm here today with tennis legend Venus Williams. Yes, we did get Venus. Welcome, Venus. Thank you so much for being here.
It's good to be here.
I am fangirling very hard right now, and I'm so excited for us to chat. But before we get started, you've truly accomplished so much. I literally have a list. You are a winner of 7 Grand Slam singles titles, the first African-American woman to reach the #1 spot in the Open era, owner and founder of Happy Viking, V-Star Design, Palazzo AI, and co-owner of Los Angeles Golf Club, one of the first ownership groups in TGL presented by SoFi, and author of the recently released book, Strive, 8 Steps to Find Your Awesome. So you started your career a decade before most people, and you faced a lot of unique situations. I mean, you were very little playing tennis, and that was your job.
I was a baby. I was 15 years old, and 15 years old in 1995 is different than 15 years old in 2024. So it was the 90s.
There were no iPhones. So I want to know, what's your earliest money memory?
My earliest money memory is from 3 years old.
Okay.
And my dad gathered the whole family, and we went out to deliver phone books.
Phone books?
Yes.
Oh my God, I barely know what those are.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So, the yellow pages, thick book, and you knock on the door and you're like, phone book. And I'm sure at 3 years old, I couldn't possibly do a good job, but I got paid for doing the job, and that was my very first job.
Oh my gosh, delivering phone books.
Yes.
I never would have guessed that.
No one would have, because they don't even exist anymore.
No, literally. Just look it up on Google.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about my favorite 2 words, prize money. You've made an eye-watering $42 million in prize money, cha-ching. How do you actually get the money? Do they just give you one of those big cardboard checks? Or do you get to keep all of it?
There's a few ways to get the money.
Yeah.
You can wire it, which is what I always did.
Yeah, okay.
You can go pick up
So that check's fake?
Yeah, the check is fake.
Oh, like the big one's fake?
Yeah, like in Happy Gilmore where he put them in his car. I guess you could take it if you wanted to, but you can't cash it. You can't endorse that check.
Yeah, okay.
It's not, it doesn't transfer in the bank. It's not currency of any type. You could go pick up your check, and then you could also take cash if you needed some off of the check. So if you needed this money to pay for stuff pay for your hotel or pay for your flight to the next city. Yeah. Because that's a real thing. There's no team supporting you paying for your flights. In tennis, you got to figure out how to get to the next city. I always bought my tickets after the finals because that was the way to do it. You know, if there's a change fee, there's a change fee, but you got to bet on yourself. But in the case that you do not make the finals, you got to figure out how to get to the next city. You got to pay the change fees, which these days are ridiculous. Back in the day, it used to be $50 or whatever, but now it's 2 kidneys, please, to change your flight. Yeah. You're not getting your money back, and the next ticket is double.
Venus has beef with the airlines.
It's nuts. So you have to figure out how to get around the world, and depending on where you are at a level as a player, that sometimes you need that cash flow. So sometimes the tournaments would give you cash. So, but I don't know if they still do that. I don't know anymore. I always just took a wire.
And you said no teams. It's not like you were playing on the Denver Nuggets. You have to pay for that stuff. Who's entitled to part of that check? Obviously, Uncle Sam's taking a big cut of that.
Yeah.
But who else on your team? Do you pay your coach?
Well, it depends on what kind of arrangements you have. Yeah. You pay for everything.
Oh.
There's no cushion.
Yeah.
You pay for your touring. You win or you lose, but it's got to get paid. But you collect your own check.
Yeah, okay.
If you're in an unhealthy situation and someone else collecting your check, that's not boo-hoo.
Yeah.
But you're collecting your own check and then distributing whatever you need to run your mini business.
What's the average team like? It's do you have a PT person on?
These days, average team has expanded. Actually, Serena and I were the first ones to travel with a physical therapist.
Oh, nice.
And everybody else is oh, we want one too. Yeah. So we were because otherwise they have physical therapists on tour, but you're just kind of waiting in line to get, and I was I cannot be on site any longer. It just makes you feel fresher when you can play your match or do your practice and get off site and do your therapy in your own space instead of waiting and then doing a therapy and then hopefully getting the good therapist you like. You know what I mean?
And so they tape my ankle the right way. And
but they have great therapists on tour, and I still use them at times when I need different things. But in any case, you have your physical therapist, you have your coach, you might have a hitting partner.
Wait, what's a hitting partner? Like just
someone to hit with. Otherwise, you have to.
How do you get that job?
You got to be able to play well.
Oh, okay. So not me. All right.
Yeah,
You guys see the way she looked at me when I said that?
Yeah, your tennis game has to
My
be.
tennis game is like maybe C-. But okay, so you got the coach, PT.
These are all the people you could possibly hire. So coach, PT, the hitting partner. If you wanted a massage therapist, you could. These days, the mental coach.
Okay.
Or a psychologist.
Yeah.
Could be part of the team too. A lot of people just take it above and beyond. I know people who didn't travel with a PR person, and then they have an assistant coach. For me, I always kept it simple because I don't like to be around a lot of people. I usually just have a coach and a PT, and that's it.
Are you an introvert?
Yes, I can't handle a lot of people.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts.
That's so interesting because you have like a good number of siblings. Like you grew up in a big family.
No, it's different. I know those people.
Yeah. These are my people.
Yeah, those are my people, but just a lot of people all the time, I can't.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So obviously, while you're playing tennis, you start to have this opportunity to really make some money. How did you and your family decide, like, these are the sponsorships we're going to take and these are the ones we're going to pass on?
It's about doing things you believe in because it's a long run, right? Hopefully it's a longevity and that we were going to be able to do what we were doing for a long time and create a legacy. And also this was who we were as a brand is our whole job and our work. So just being able to work with companies that you believe in is something that I've always done. Yeah. And I think it pays off. And nowadays, everyone's doing that on Instagram or social media, like creating a brand that is authentic. So using that word that everybody uses all the time, but really authenticity, knowing who you are, what you stand for, what your values are, and then working with companies that stand for those kinds of things. That never changes back in the 90s or until now.
Yeah, agreed. And were there any like hard lessons that you learned along the way that you're like, can't do that again? Yeah,
I think the hard lesson I learned, it took me only once, is not to do things I didn't want to do or agree to things that I didn't want to do.
Really?
So when you get there and you've done something because someone suggested it and you're exhausted and you're tired and you're unhappy and you don't want to be there, of course, we all have to do things that we don't want to do, right? You gotta take out the trash, do your planks, wake up early. Okay, yeah, that's a whole other different thing. But when you're pushed into something that wasn't your choice, that's not the way to live. So I learned early on, first time, like I'm never doing something that I don't want to do.
When you're thinking about all of the time that you were spending on matches and where you were investing, like, what would you say was the thing you liked doing the most? Was it actually playing the tennis? Was it doing the sponsorship deals? Was it
winning? Yeah, I liked winning the most.
Okay.
This is what it's about. All the work you put in, all the blood, sweat, and things that go on behind the scenes that no one ever sees when you step on the court. It all makes that more satisfying, and it makes that process so much more beautiful because you get the win. And when you get the loss, it's awful, but you learn from it, and it makes you stronger and hungrier, and it makes you better. Even when you think, I've done all the work, I've done everything right, I should win, and you don't, it just makes you like better.
Yeah.
So as much as I hate the losing, the winning was, it's the icing on what you work for.
Yeah. Oh man, just hearing you talking about it is like giving me chills because you're like smiling so big. You're like, I love winning.
I love winning at everything now.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, so this is my question because SoFi wants to support everybody's ambitions.
Yeah.
Like aside from the day in, day out practicing, like you are in the locker room, you're about to go out and you are about to win. What's like the 1, 2, 3 in your head to like get you ready to do that?
Well, the preparation starts long before you get in the locker room, right? So hopefully you've done your mental preparation long before.
Wait, like what do you mean mental preparation?
You visualize yourself winning, but also how exactly you're going to win. You visualize the tough situations that you're going to be in, how you're going to conquer them. Sometimes even when you get in that position to win, that's the hardest time to cross the line. You get nervous.
Yeah.
What if I don't? How do I do this? I'm right here. It's in my hand.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out how to win there too. And if you can see yourself do that, visualize yourself, walk through it. When you get to that moment that it happens, you've done it 1,000 times in your head. It feels right. It doesn't feel like the first time. It feels like the 1,000th time.
Yeah.
So that mental preparation beforehand, knowing what your process is when you step out on the court, that your process is so perfected that you're like a machine. You just go on autopilot and you perform. And if you make mistakes, you just correct them along the way. But your process is so set that you feel comfortable and confident because you know what's going to happen. So that was for me how I'd like to walk out on the court. Now, did that happen every time? Absolutely not. Because that's not life.
Yeah.
But if you can tell yourself that I've done the work, I'm prepared, and try to trust that as much as possible, it allows you to feel more free.
Quick time out. I want to dig into another way you can chase your ambitions. I'm about to teach you how to use your emergency fund to treat yourself, responsibly, of course. Let's break it down. A fully funded emergency fund should cover around 3 to 6 months of expenses. We're gonna say that's $10,000. If you put that $10,000 emergency fund into an account with a 0.1% APY and didn't touch it for a year, you'd make $10 in interest. Yeah, that's it. And if you got the average checking account interest rate, you'd make even less money. Let's see what happens if you put that money in a SoFi vault with its highly competitive APY. At the end of the year, you'd make $450. That's enough for your emergency fund to treat you out to a night on the town. You might think this is too good to be true, but it's not. This is just one way that online banks stay competitive and attract you to keep your hard-earned money with them instead of the old traditional banks. So move your money to a place where it will work for you. Switch to SoFi and start earning the interest you deserve. Sign up with SoFi at SoFi.com/richerlives. So I would love to know any important lessons about money that your family taught you, and is there anything that you actually had to unlearn?
I think the most important lesson was not to live above your means. My mom was a big one on that.
My mom too.
Yeah, she was very serious about living whatever within the means and, not showing off with money. I was always taught not to talk about money, which I think to a degree is important, right?
Huh, really?
Yeah, you don't go out there necessarily talking about figures, or in some ways it can be rude to talk about money if it's not done the right way. But there are times where you need to talk about money.
Yeah.
At work, with a partner. Those kinds of things are important. You need to be able to feel comfortable enough to ask for a raise, or if you are dating someone seriously, to talk about finances. Those things are important. But in everyday life, talking about your bling, I don't think that's cute.
Yeah.
It's not a thing, because it shouldn't really matter. What should matter is the quality of your life. And if money enhances that at times, that's great, but it shouldn't be the end all, that having money is your happiness, because that's fleeting. It won't last.
Yeah.
So I think living in your means is very important, because it actually takes pressure off of you.
Yeah.
And you're able to not be stressed about money, because that's not fun. Stressing out about money is hard, and sometimes it's going to happen to anyone, right?
Have you ever stressed about money?
I spent too much on art once. So it's all about cash flow. So I was like, and it was like, not enough cash is coming in for what I'm spending.
Yeah. No. This is very real.
And you can always liquidate, but you never want to be in a position where you're going to have to. Yeah. So it worked out randomly, to be honest. It worked out. I got like a tax refund. It was freaking Monopoly. I was like, oh, thanks. But also it wasn't fun. I was like, why did I commit to all this silly problems in some ways? But I was like, never again. That was just recently. That was like this year, actually.
No, I mean, it's not silly. It shows the fact that you can be top of your game, super successful, and regardless of if you're making a ton of money or not, like, you got to manage your money smart.
And you don't want to have a lot of cash laying around. So if you
Talk to me about that.
If you have a lot of cash laying around, that might not be good either. So you should be investing at least in something short term.
Yeah.
So yes, you can have cash to pay for things, but should you really? Is your money working for you? I think another lesson I learned too was that debt is important. I think a lot of times people of color, all kinds of people, but especially people of color, don't always learn the value of using debt to work for you. It's all, you have to own everything. Yeah. But you have all this money sunk that you can't use anywhere else.
Yeah.
Just learning the proper value of debt. Obviously, you don't want to over leverage yourself because then the losses can accumulate to astronomical numbers. That's not fun either. It's got to be a balance, but learning how to use debt to work for you, especially in situations of low interest.
Yeah.
So being able to take advantage of that is extremely important. And that's a lesson that I think it took me too long to learn because it was always like, own your stuff, own your house, do this, do that. And it's like, oh, okay, your money should be working for you.
I love that you were at first very much working for your money, and now your money is working for you.
That's the way it should be over time.
That's right.
And I think that's the most important thing that we could talk about today is that you should be investing in things that are either growing and compounding interest or throwing off cash for you to create cash flow for you, depending on what your goals are.
Yeah, 100%.
So that your money should be at least doing those two things, if nothing else. And then, of course, enjoy your money too.
Yeah.
You don't want to save all of it. It's fun to see it grow, but spend some money sometimes too.
I love these lessons because...
Oh, another one that
it's
going to be very controversial. I don't think owning your house is the American dream.
Talk to me.
Well, since what? The 40s, like after the war, right? It's this American dream to own your house. But if you own your house, what else do you own?
Right.
It's wonderful to have a house, and that's a wonderful thing. There's nothing wrong with that goal. But instead of putting that $100,000, $200,000 in that down payment, should you just rent a place and invest that money?
Yeah.
You should compare the returns.
Yeah.
I don't think owning a house is the American dream. You should own the house once you've done everything else. Once you've done everything else, once you've invested your money, once it's working for you, then maybe buy the house.
We're going to be fast friends because I also have this take because the American dream has changed. Like, young people aren't just living in one city for 40 years. They're saying, I'm going to bop over here and bop over there and try this new opportunity. It's like, well, if you bought a house, you're tied. You got to live there for at least 7 to 10 years to typically make the numbers, make the math.
And plus the insurance, plus the taxes, plus the maintenance, because there is always a leak.
My toilet started running the other day, and I was like, what am I supposed to do with this?
There was this period where everything went wrong. I came home, and there was like water running down from the ceiling.
There was just a leak.
And then this broke, and that broke, and I'm like, I'm going to move into an apartment. I was like, I can't do this anymore, you know? If I could do it again, I wouldn't buy another house.
Oh.
So, but it's fine now. I'm happy.
No, I love that. But, you know, today Venus can always give yesterday Venus a little advice, and that's nice. Yeah. That's nice. Let's move on. I want to talk about the fact that you were the first African-American woman in the open era to reach the number one. We talked about how much you love winning. The number one spot. You could have stopped, but you actually advocated for equal pay, better sponsorship deals, and a whole lot more. So I think today's tennis players have you to thank for a lot of the niceties that they have access to. When did you first notice the pay disparity in men's and women's tennis, and how did you find the confidence to actually speak out about it?
Yeah, I remember growing up that the prize money was only equal at the U.S. Open. The Australian Open, French Open, and Wimbledon were not equal. And I remember the Australian Open went to equal prize money, but then something happened where there was some tough financial times. I was a kid, so I don't know what it was. I remember reading an article about how the women were disappointed because they went back to unequal prize money. So when it was time to cut, they cut the women. Can you imagine? So that was the kind of world we were living in. So growing up, I knew that it wasn't equal, but it's not something you think about as a kid, right? Because you don't really understand it when you're 10 years old.
Yeah.
You just are trying to prepare to go play these big tournaments and win them is your big dream. And then when you get there, you realize, actually, not only is it not equal, but nobody even cares if it is.
Ugh. How did you deal with that feeling of just people were okay with the status quo?
I don't do well with the status quo.
I've noticed that.
And I love breaking rules.
Yeah.
So,
were you ever worried about the consequences of being so outspoken?
What consequence could there be except having less equality again?
Yeah.
There was absolutely nothing to lose.
You're like, I'm already being paid less.
We had already lost.
Yeah.
So, when you're already down on your luck, you have nowhere else to go but up, right? So I absolutely wasn't worried. There was no consequence, in my opinion, outside of you suffering through another year of being paid unequally. So it was great to be a part of it. The WTA got a goal at that point of let's get equal prize money and like really being strategic about it, because at the time they would go into the Grand Slam meeting, which happened every year at Wimbledon, and then present something, and that was it. And then so they just waited to the next year. So at this point, it became this whole campaign of like, let's get people on board with us, whether it was like politicians or business people. Let's campaign in the media. Let's do something about this instead of just waiting every year to get a rejection stamp.
I love that. And obviously since then, tennis has come a very far way. We're seeing obviously quite a bit more pay parity, and that's amazing. But obviously this isn't the case with a lot of other sports still. Even just watching the Olympics this past few months, like it's hard to see women athletes work just as hard to make half as much, if that. Like, what changes would you like to see ASAP, and where do you think those changes should come from?
Well, in the Olympics, there's a lot of money being made by a lot of people. And then you see some of these athletes who give their whole life to play a sport that maybe isn't as popular, but takes just as much work. And they're like working, playing at 10 o'clock at night or training or practicing their sport.
Do you see Flavor Flav sponsoring a water polo team?
I did not. I've got to check that out.
No, one of the players had to work, I believe, multiple other jobs to make ends meet so that they could continue to play water polo.
Yes.
And Flavor Flav really said, I am not Public Enemy. I am everybody's number one friend, and sponsored the entire team.
That's amazing.
That's a great story, but like, why does he have to do that?
Why does he have to do that? The Olympics does make money. Perhaps it's time to share that money. I think sometimes keeping things amateur is a way to keep things controlled. The same thing happened in tennis, that things were amateur, you couldn't get paid, and so the tennis players...
you couldn't get paid?
Yeah, the open era represents a time when players started getting paid. So, during that time when you hear all these people winning Wimbledon, they weren't paid. They had to finance their own way without getting paid. So
I can't even imagine
that shouldn't be a thing in sports where you have to be an amateur. Right? To play this sport. Who made this rule? You should be able to make money at a skill that you've perfected. I want to pivot back a little bit, and we're going to talk about some family here. Even though you and your sister came up together in the world of tennis, you're still an individual with your own identity. Tell us, how do you define success for yourself? And do you feel like it was like a family image of success, or you're like, I'm Venus, I got to be successful? Yeah, success is really when you're happy. If you're happy, that's successful. It doesn't matter how successful you are. When you are sad, it hurts. And nothing can take that away. No amount of money, no amount of success, no amount of winning can take away that pain. So happiness, is the first level of success. And then if you can figure out how to be happy and still win and still have great finances, now that's living. You got it. Oh, that's such a great answer. When people oftentimes see others with success, they can feel a little jealous. And that was a big thing, because I'm assuming, most people don't have to play matches against people and then go home in the same car. What advice do you have for anybody feelings of jealousy towards a competitor or just anybody in their life? You need to check yourself. You need to pray about that. Or whatever it is that you need to do, reset your mind. Jealousy is one of the worst feelings you can have. It's extremely unhealthy. And then you have to remember that there's enough success for everyone. Just because one person is successful doesn't mean it limits you. Actually, it should inspire you. I love seeing people do well because it motivates me. And you can learn from that person that's right next to you, no matter how close they are or how close they aren't. This is an opportunity. Everything is a learning opportunity. So you should want to be actually surrounded by people who are successful because they show you the way. If you want to be surrounded by people who are less successful, what are you going to learn from? How are you going to grow? So I actually get upset when people are not pushing the limits and great. I want to learn. I want to be inspired. Those are the things that are important. And having the best people around you and the best team is what helps you to grow. What is another big mindset thing that you really prioritize, especially when thinking about your career versus other people's, and just how do you actually change the way you think to get that success? I'm not thinking about anyone else. I'm not.
You said this is the Venus show.
I've got my own problems. You know? I really do. I got to figure out my life. I can't think about anyone else's life. Like if they need me to help them, I can. But I'm busy. I have stuff I got to do. So I don't have time to worry about if XYZ person is winning. Obviously, as a competitor, when you see another player win, you're like, shoot, I should have won that. You know, I'm going to go work harder.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But that's fine. That's a competitive spirit. But I literally don't have time. And it's so interesting as people will ask you, who do you think your biggest rival is? Or who do you think might win? You're like, I don't care. You know, I'm worried about me. I'm not thinking about that person when I go and book my practice, when I'm on the court, when I'm in a match. I'm not thinking about anyone else except for me. And if you can just focus on yourself and your own journey and your own adventure, there's so much to be done there. Who has time for everything else?
On that note, let's pause for a quick money lesson. We'll be right back with more from Venus. Did you know that 1/3 of people know more about a celebrity's net worth than their own? Hello, it's time to know your own net worth. And luckily, it's really easy. Said simply, your net worth is what you own minus what you owe, aka assets minus liabilities. That's the formula. But let's be honest, hunting down all your balances, property values, and calculating this yourself sounds low-key exhausting. Luckily, apps like SoFi exist to help you easily track your net worth. Because if you don't know where you're at, you can't really get to where you want to go. Just download the SoFi app, connect to your accounts, and start keeping tabs on your net worth today. So, obviously, tennis has been your greatest love through most of your life, but now you've turned your eye a little bit towards other businesses and ventures, investment opportunities. We talked a little bit about investing earlier. How did your tennis career prep you for entrepreneurship?
You know, I don't know that it exactly does.
Oh, okay.
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. So the yes is really understanding how to work hard, how to set goals, how to face adversity, how to have resilience, how to have a team, be a leader. All those different things definitely come from sports. But really understanding the nuances of the particular business you are in, that's when you have to build a great team. And you have to know what your strengths are and what role you play, and then what kind of team you need to build around you. Some people are like amazing salespeople. Other people are great at marketing. Other people are visionaries, whatever that might be. Know your role.
Yeah.
And then build around you. As athletes, we have spent since infancy learning sport. There are other people who have spent that XYZ number of years learning their craft too. And my goal is never to be that, not that I want to be that good, but to know what my role is. I'm never going to be the CFO. I shouldn't be the CFO. What's my role? What's the role that I am best at? And then figure that out and run with that.
What would you say is probably that role? Is it like the creative piece? Is it the...
I mean, these days, I'm finding that I want to have less hands-on than ever before. Before I was like all day, every day. And now I feel like I'm shifting to other things in life and in business as well. You know, things that are a little more passive and in touch.
Yeah.
But I think in the beginning, definitely like leader and visionary and marketing or creative, those kinds of things.
Perfect. You wanted to lead the direction of the train to make sure it was on the right track.
And to some degree, yes, now, but I'm finding different ways to be effective because there's only so much time. So how do I use my time in the best way, in the most effective way?
And again, not to be crass, you've had an incredibly lucrative career. Frankly, you don't need money. Like, money is clearly not your biggest motivator to keep doing these things, to keep making these investments, to keep building businesses. Like, why do you do it?
Because I love a challenge. I love a challenge.
This and your winning comment, I'm like, wow, I'm like getting into your psyche. Like, you are just born and bred to like overcome.
Yeah,
like you just like doing
pressure
that.
is great. Just a little pressure. You need that pressure every day. Like if there's no pressure, things are very boring, right? So I think I'm getting a lot less addicted to pressure now.
Yeah.
Because I've been under pressure a long time.
Yeah.
So there comes a point where you're like, okay, maybe I should get a life. You know, maybe life isn't just emails and meetings. So it's okay for that to happen too, and to have different priorities in life is what I'm learning.
Yeah.
But when those priorities happen, it takes me a while to pivot. It takes me months before I can pivot my life in that way, if I'm successful in pivoting at all.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get out of the rat race for sure.
Do you think you'll ever fully, quote unquote, retire?
From tennis?
From anything, from everything. Just like sit on the beaches of, Naples, Florida and kick your feet up.
Will I ever retire? I don't think completely.
Okay.
I think there's so much fun to be had in life and work because that challenge is a beautiful thing. And I think I'll find different challenges over time, working with people and teaching them tennis, whether they're young people or working as a mentor for professional tennis players or athletes. There's a lot of joy in that.
Would you ever become a coach?
No.
Oh, you answered that very quickly.
I don't want to be in the sun. No. I've had too much sun. I'm surprised I'm not a raisin now, like just by the grace of God. And I'm impatient. So I can't be that patient.
Okay.
I can't travel to tournaments.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not doing that anymore.
I can't wait on rain delays. I can't wait for a 5-setter to finish so we can get on the court. No, I won't. But there might be some time 10 years from now that I say, okay, that might be fun to go back to the tournaments and occasionally like go a few weeks a year. I could never be a full-time coach, though.
Okay. But I like that your love affair with tennis probably has no expiration date. Before we wrap up, I want to learn about Strive, 8 steps to find your awesome.
Yes.
What are the 8 steps? Can we at least get step 1 and 2? I want to know.
Striving is all about taking steps each day. It's about making healthy habits, taking steps each day to find your awesome and making it a habit, right? So being able to focus on observing yourself, experiencing gratitude, all different kinds of things. So that way you can learn to strive for your best. Also, it was an opportunity for me to share what I've known and what I've learned in life. Each year that passes for me, I just want to share what I know.
Yeah.
Like, hey, do this, do that. This is what I learned. Don't do this because I did this and it doesn't work.
And it doesn't work.
So this book is also about that too, of quicker ways to get to where you'd like to go. So you really do have to actually look at yourself, which sometimes is not easy and can be scary, but there is nothing wrong with looking at yourself and finding something you'd like to be better. That's everybody, right? So having that opportunity to observe you and then appreciate yourself, appreciate what you're doing, working on your diet, working on all these things that can help you to be your best. Relationships, all of the above. So kind of my quick fire ways to do that.
I love that. And I love that you continue to be learning and earning and just growing.
Thank you.
You have such an incredible career.
And I'm so happy we're going to hang out in Florida.
Yeah, we definitely are. And, we're going to go play pickleball or something.
Karaoke at my house.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Venus. I had so much fun with you digging into your journey. And for everybody watching at home, do not forget to buy Venus's new book, Strive, 8 Steps to Find Your Awesome. Thanks for watching this episode of Richer Lives. Make sure to hit like and subscribe so you can be the first to learn about our next guest. See you next time.
Throw your hands up in the air. Wave them around if you don't care.